Hi guys, so it's just going to be a really short video today, just going over the trade from yesterday and just talking a little bit about psychology as well and how to just keep executing regardless of losses. Last week, it was pretty much a losing week, and even yesterday you can see here there was a loss as well. So it was just not a very great week last week, and some of them was due to psychology issues and some of them was just I took the trade according to my plan, but it just didn't play out. Well, definitely I've identified which one is which one is the ones where it's psychology, which one is the one where I've executed but it just wasn't going my way. It's important for you to realize that in those times you just kind of have to keep executing, just keep going and not be afraid. I feel like recently, because I've been so into this psychology thing, recently I've just been watching so many psychology videos and just been sitting there putting it all into a mind map and looking at how I'm thinking and just reflecting on what I'm thinking. I actually don't really get too affected. Like, I actually don't really care that much after I lose, because this is something that you can easily control. While you're actually trading, it might be very difficult to control how you feel and how your brain sees the information that's given to you. Sometimes your brain will just want to manipulate the information because you still want to win, but that just takes time. So if you happen to make mistakes because of your psychology, just journal it down and just move on. But after you trade though, that's something that you can definitely control. After you trade, whether you feel bad or good about your trade, that's something that you can control. When you take a trade and you lose and it's according to your plan, it's very important for you to just be okay about it and just realize that that is normal. And that's what I've been kind of feeling over the last week. Like, I actually don't really care too much and it doesn't really affect me, even though these losses are a lot bigger than what I've been previously doing. It's not that big to affect my financial situation, but it's still bigger than what it was previously since I put more money into my account. So let's go through the trade today. So we'll look on a daily first. Pretty much very overextended right now. That's pretty much all that I see on the daily. We have this daily fair value gap here, we got a weekly fair value gap here. So when it does become a downtrend, we can probably look to target those areas, but right now it doesn't seem like it at the moment. Yesterday's candle closed pretty weak and it just kind of swept this high, not closing above it. And with this high as well, we also didn't end up closing above this high. So today I was actually bearish. We didn't close above this high. We got this 4-hour fair value gap here, and we got this low right here. So keep in mind this 4-hour fair value gap. And if you look on the daily, if you look on the hourly, we can see here that this right here is actually the Asian session high. And this Asian session high actually overlaps with the 4-hour. The same line. So that's why that was a really strong draw. And today the whole trade was basically, we swept this low. We didn't close above that low at all. We just swept it. I went down to the 5-minute, looked for a 5-minute entry. We got that 5-minute fair value gap right here. I entered it when it entered into the fair value gap. Stops below this low right here, targeting that Asian session high and that 4-hour fair value gap. And that is basically it for the trade. So we got an entry model, we got liquidity sweep, and my higher time frame was just this higher time frame sweep. It was basically a retracement trade, so that's why the higher time frame is a liquidity sweep instead of a fair value gap or an order block. And that's why I'm targeting internal range liquidity. Right now, it does look a bit more bullish, but I don't think I'll trade New York session today. I don't know if there's going to be any trades because I'm kind of a bit torn between bearish and bullish now, because now it looks kind of bullish. I was just trying to target the internal range of this. So basically we swept external range liquidity and I was targeting internal range liquidity. Another thing as well is that to get into the equilibrium, you have to go all the way up there, and there's also a 1-hour fair value gap there. So there's definitely a lot of liquidity that you can target. So that was today's trade. Okay, so let's do a quick recap on today's trade as well. So today as well, we got another win. So basically earlier in the video, I said that I was bearish for yesterday, or I was starting to become a bit bearish yesterday. So we ended up being bullish today. So that's the daily candle for today. This was yesterday's candle from the trade earlier in the video. Now in today's session, I caught a trade here. So basically we got this SMT right here with GU. If we look on GU, it went up, but EU went down. So that's that higher time frame SMT right here. So that's when I started to become a bit more bullish here. Yesterday we caught a long in this candle here, Tuesday 16th of July, and yesterday afterwards in New York session it did end up being bearish. It did end up respecting this and coming down, and that's when we formed this SMT right here. So we did end up taking out this low. We didn't end up going all the way to the daily fair value gap though, but that's fine. And then today we ended up creating, well, yesterday during PM session we got this fair value gap right here, this 4-hour fair value gap, and today we tapped into it. During London session we tapped into that 4-hour fair value gap, which again overlaps with the daily with the Asian session low. So 4-hour fair value gap right here and the Asian session low, and it also overlaps with this 1-hour fair value gap here. It didn't quite go all the way into the equilibrium of the range, but yeah, it still rebalanced the inefficiency, or the imbalance, I guess. So it ended up tapping into that, and then we ended up getting a 5-minute fair value gap, and that's when I entered right here. And actually I entered after a 1-minute fair value gap, so we got another 1-minute fair value gap created here after we tapped into that 5-minute, because during this time we were actually really not correlating with GU at all. During this time GU was just going straight up at the start of London session, but EU was still sort of chopping around and even went down for a little bit to get that. GU, we already rebalanced it here. We already rebalanced into the fair value gap here, so that's why way before Asian session, that's why we ended up going up. And I did realize we did end up forming an SMT here, and then GU was like down. So I just ended up sticking to my plan because all the confluences was there, and it wasn't like we have a bearish SMT as well. It was just kind of like forming when it was around here. GU was already all the way up there and already went past all these highs from previous days, but EU at this point in time, around here, it was still forming an SMT. So there was also a 1-hour fair value gap as well, bearish fair value gap, that could have messed with my psychology. And honestly, we have an Asian session highs here, we have fair value gap here. I almost got messed up, and we created a 5-minute fair value gap as well, but I'm not gonna, I just ended up moving my stops to, I think, a little bit closer here. Yeah, it's good to stick to your plan and good to just keep executing. So make sure that you know that you're executing according to your strategy, and if you know that you are, then just keep executing and don't let those losses impact you at all. If you know that your losses and wins are going to be randomly distributed, then you shouldn't be worried about when you're winning and when you're losing. You should just know that you're going to win over time. Make sure to watch this video next before you trade, and make sure to watch it just right now if you haven't watched it before. It's going to be a pretty packed video for just a few minutes. So I'll see you guys in that video. Bye.